All right, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. I'm Ben. This is not Denise.
No. Well, I could be. These days, I could be whatever I want.
That's right.
I can be absolutely anything I want, Ben. I'm here, and it's a joy to be here. Every time I get to come out here, it's like Denise always says, it's like right out of a Thomas Kincaid painting or a postcard or something like that. Blue skies, t-shirt weather in the middle of February or the end of February. How about that?
Yeah, it is the end of February.
Gotta love it.
It is, but we've got a question for our Permaculture Promethean here. Long before, well, I wouldn't say long before we knew you. Before we really got into understanding permaculture, we started setting up our orchard because when's the best time to plant a tree?
10 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got out here, and Denise still jokes with me about it because I think we planted 40 trees in our first 6 months here. 60 trees, see, and she's still correcting me.
There you go.
But anyway, so we didn't plant them in accordance with permaculture. We've got cherry tree, plum, peach, another plum. So with permaculture, we're supposed to plant a nitrogen fixer every third tree. Now we have, right, every third tree?
Not necessarily. It depends on what model you want to go with, but under Subkoviak, yeah, it would be every third tree.
Okay.
But there are ways to get around some of this stuff.
Well, now we have planted comfrey around all of our trees. But what, if we suddenly switch places and you were on this property, what would you do to rectify, or how would you change what we have done?
I don't know that I would, well, you can't change anything, but one thing I think I would do is that, judging by your spacing over here, it tells me that you got options. Because had this been a regular, depending on what your root stock is, this could very well be 5 feet that way. So what you could do, if it were me, because we got a cherry there, a cherry here, what you could very well do is put your nitrogen fixer right where I'm standing.
Okay.
Or you can go with another option. You can even put nitrogen fixing shrubs, one right here, one right there. Maybe you put blueberries on the opposite corners. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a nitrogen fixing tree. It could very well be a shrub.
Okay, so create a guild around each one of these trees.
Absolutely.
Which is what we've started to do some of that, yeah.
One cool thing we always have done historically is, and we got this one, this is straight out of the book Guy's Garden, and we took it for a test drive, and we even got it going right now, where in the same exact hole of, let's say, this cherry tree right here, it doesn't have to be, but we can sometimes in the very same hole put that nitrogen fixer with the intention that every time it grows up, we're going to chop it back, or we're going to coppice it down low. I know it seems crazy, but that atmospheric nitrogen will be a great benefit to this tree. So we let it grow up about yay far, coppice it off, and if it's something like that really goes well around here, like let's say a false indigo, you could take a false indigo, literally feed it to your sheep if you want, chop it off, put a mulch ring around here, cut off all your comfrey, you got one giant mulch ring. You never have to mulch again. So you could have that nitrogen fixer in the very same hole, or you could flank it with nitrogen fixing shrubs. But every place where we've put a nitrogen fixer, which every orchardist in a conventional sense would ever tell you never do, we've been doing it, and in every single case we've done it, the growth on those trees has been absolutely through the roof.
All right.
Disease-free and everything else, so yeah. I wouldn't change up anything. I would just, the simple modifications that you require are very, very simple. And in many cases, it might not even need it. So you could put a tree here, or you could put nitrogen fixing shrubs here. You could put some seed buckthorn over there if you wanted to.
Okay.
Or you could put one right in the same exact hole, which is exactly, this thing's so small, I would literally take a false indigo and I would probably plant it right about here.
Okay.
It will not hurt that tree, despite what everybody tells you. They say it's too close. It really isn't. It works like a champ.
Yeah. And well, you can see our daffodils. Supposedly deer don't like them, so I figure that's one more deterrent, along with cages and Billy's wonderful bone sauce.
Well, not only do the deer not like them, but also the things that go in the ground, like the voles and the moles and stuff.
Yeah.
This is why we take also with the daffodils, we'll treat it like the President of the United States in terms of security. Okay, that's a loaded thing there, but I'll just stay away from that.
Yeah, we'll not touch that
This
one.
is your channel, so I'm not going to get crazy here. But what we've done, like with the president, the Secret Service puts rings of security around that security person they're trying to secure. So we do exactly the same thing. So we may have 4 daffodil in the closer ring, and then we may put 8 daffodil on the outer ring. And honestly, it has been an enormous help when it comes to voles and stuff like that. So it does work. It does work. They'll want to get to it, but it does. If nothing else, the daffodils keep them wanting to stay. They're like, okay, man, tastes great, but less filling. I'm going over here.
Yeah. Well, we definitely have voles because 50 yards up the hill here, you can see the lines underneath the grass up there.
Absolutely. So it has benefits. Daffodils are not only pretty to look at, but it's having benefits above, as above, so below.
All right. Well, that sounds good. And then one other question. Sadly, we've lost a couple of our apple trees here.
Sure.
But you don't think that's too close, do you, as far as a second row?
It depends. I mean, it all really goes down to it. What really matters more than anything is how you're going to wind up pruning this thing. So you have a row of trees here and a row of trees there. That's a little bit close. But if it is here, you can prune them in such a way, like when we were pruning a little while ago.
Right.
I would prune them to where the limbs on this are not directly in line with the limbs from that.
Okay.
So as long as we have limbs going from here, from this direction and that direction, I would go, I mean, if it's already here, there's nothing you can do about it anyway.
Right.
I would try to make my row a little bit wider if I could, but the beauty about what you have here is that you have it within the inner, you can actually put way more orchard in a smaller space by doing what you did. So instead of having every tree dress where they match the other tree, you're covering it.
Yeah.
You're almost doing with trees what John Jevons does in his gardens in terms of spacing. And it's a genius idea. The only concern I would have is just make sure your branches aren't directly in line with the others. And this might not be a bad idea for the folks out there that want a food forest, because you want things in closer proximity, because to a certain extent, you kind of want them hidden.
Well, yeah, and not everybody's blessed like you and I where they've got a good sized property. They might be in a very tight area. You know.
Exactly. No, you have great options here. This isn't, I mean, in a typical orchard setting, people would think this is entirely too close, but it doesn't have to be. It can literally be this close, especially if you had the intention of doing a espalier and training these trees.
Yep.
So you could have them in closer and make your life really a lot easier when it comes to harvest time. Okay. So this is not a bad idea. It's not a bad design. Not at all. You can just amend whatever it is you have. So all the folks out there that you feel like, oh, good night, man, I put these in, or let's say those trees have been there for 20 years. Yeah. There's no reason you can't add a guild afterwards. Yep. There really isn't. So you have tons of great opportunity. Yeah. Cherries are a little bit trickier.
I mean, like this one we definitely want because it's
Absolutely.
rubbing right up the middle. And
so the only thing I would do on something like this, Ben, the only thing I would do, like you said, get the trouble children. This one, this one.
Take that out.
There you go. So you're on the right side of the I'd come a little bit closer to the healing collar.
Oh, than that?
Yeah, but you're fine there. It's not a big deal. Now, keep in mind, everything that you prune off, there's something called the hand principle. You can take your hand. Anywhere you cut it, it will be stimulated again, the width of your hand, typically on bigger trees.
Okay.
Cool thing about that is, so if you have a branch that's like misshapen or not going in the way you want, it's going to be stimulated to have a bunch of different growth coming out of there. So you can select of the ones that come out of there, which ones you want to keep.
Okay.
But as far as this one goes, yeah, I would just...
Probably take that out of the middle?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Is that close enough?
Yep. And the golden rule, how much do we not want to take? We don't want to take more than
a third of the tree.
There you go. This one's just plain ugly and it's aiming in the wrong direction. It's going to be a problem, so I would take that off.
This whole piece?
The whole thing. I'd take that whole thing plumb back to the healing collar. Because it's basically, it's hogging every, hogging.
Well, would I be better off?
You could cut this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that.
Now, there's not a healing collar on this.
It doesn't matter.
So okay. But as far as cutting, I want to leave just a little bit right. I don't want to cut right down.
Absolutely. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Yep. So you're healing. I wouldn't do too much more on this one this year because
It's a small tree.
Yeah, you could like take that off if you
Yeah, 'cause
wanted to.
that's
Cherries are a little bit trickier when it comes to a lot of this on the pruning. So
Let's-
that one's cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, let's run down to that.
The big
that
one?
That thing is, it's wild.
Ah, what do we got here? Peach?
This one is a peach. And
Majestic.
it is starting to bud out.
Now, peaches are a little bit different when it comes to pruning.
These we want to create a goblet, right?
There you go.
A goblet shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
This is a very tall one. And you
yeah,
can
but
see where this almost got girdled last season.
yep. That's exactly what I was talking about. When you got to be careful on some of that stuff, but it looks like it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
But I would probably, I wouldn't take this off just now when you got that kind of wind. All right,
Yeah,
so based on what you know, what do you think you want to do?
Well, that's why I brought you down to this one, because this one's a little.
I would clean up.
I've looked at it, like the little stuff on the sides.
I'd clean up everything from here down.
Would you? Okay.
Everything.
Including this one.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, we'll do
And then
that
we'll
right
talk
quick.
about where you want your bowl on a peach.
Now, it'd be nice to have it a little bit lower for picking purposes, but
Yeah, this one I would have trained long before this point, but was it a potted tree?
it was, yeah. And
Yeah.
that was a,
So the reason they do it that way is that a lot of your peaches, I would have wanted it to branch down here and do all that stuff, but
right, and
they
come out.
know that they can sell more trees if they go ahead and make it look taller, even though the taller tree is not necessarily your best one.
Yeah.
So with this, you're only going to select maybe 4 different branches, and it's going to be something like that on a peach.
okay.
So intuitively, anything going to the center. So on the 4 that you keep, in this case we got 5. I wouldn't take more than I don't know. I would take this.
Would you
I think
take
I'd
that out?
take that. Only problem is it is budding right now, so we would want to do it before now. But I would take this. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I would take this, and 1, 2, 3, 4 is what I would keep. So
Okay.
this one, this one, this one, and this one. This one I'd get rid of.
Okay. So, and this is dead, so I'm
Yep.
taking this out while we're here.
Yep. So I'd
And-
get rid of
and both
these. And remember, peachwood's always tough to cut with things like that. So,
Yes.
yep. And I usually just chop them up. Now that you have what you got there, the cool thing about doing a peach is that it's kind of simple, because anything of the 4 you have here, anything that's going to the center or
Leave it out.
anything directly below, you got to go, because it'll be shaded or not getting any air.
Okay. Now
So-
I've got this one, so you would take this one out
Absolutely.
of the middle. Okay.
Absolutely. Anything directly below,
And like this in the middle.
yep.
Now I'm not getting anywhere near taking a third, right?
Not even
So,
close. No,
okay.
not on this one.
How about that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If it's going straight up or toward the inside, peaches are always a pain in the butt because you got so many of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I
And,
said, we would have wanted to do that.
That one's going to be, well, that's still on the outside edge.
That's
so.
that's one of those rough calls. I would take it, but you don't have to. You can see what it's going to do. It's not a big deal.
That one, we're going to take these 2. That.
And then, okay, so what I normally do is so I don't mess myself up, I start with each branch that I'm going to keep. I select everything on that branch. This one here, I'd go with it, even though this may be a problem later on. It almost certainly will be. Yeah, so that one, what do you think you want to keep or not keep on that? Is there anything jumping out at you?
Well, we want to keep the goblet shape, so I would probably want to take this one out of here, because then that's going to keep
Absolutely.
that.
That's exactly what I would do.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so you got 2 of them that are good. You got these. What do you think you want to do on those?
This one should be okay. It's facing out. I mean, I guess this one's questionable whether we keep.
There
the
you go.
whole
So
one.
if it's questionable, I usually get rid of it.
Okay.
If I'm nowhere near a third,
Yeah.
because if nothing else, it's self-pruning its roots when you do this, and it's only going to come back stronger.
Okay. So we've got that out. Take this one because it's facing in.
I would. How do
That
you
one
feel about
should-
the rest of it?
I think that one's good, other than maybe this little guy coming.
Anything directly? Yeah, I would.
That
There you go.
okay.
Now you got one more to go.
Little guy.
What do you think you want to do up there?
Let me come around here for camera's sake. Really, probably the only 2 would be this little one
Yep.
And this little one.
Absolutely. You totally got it down, bro. You don't even need me anymore.
All right.
Because a lot of this stuff, it's as long as you have the golden rule of everything done, as long as it's not growing to the center, at least on a peach. Like I said, ideally, I would have it down here, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Right.
They make little things, extensions. You can pull the fruit off of there. So
I have one.
if it,
Mom,
yeah. So if it's too far out of whack, nobody cares.
Mom heard we were planting trees, so she sent us one of those fruit basket grabbers.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
okay.
Bro, you got it down.
All right.
There is nothing. When you can snatch the acorns from my hand, you may leave the monastery.
Kung Fu.
I think we're showing our age now.
Yeah, we are. Boy, are we. Well, Billy, don't you lose my number.
You got it. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. All right, everybody. Well, as always, we've learned something new from Billy over at Perma Pastures Farm, and hope you guys learned something too. Make sure you subscribe to both channels. And any parting words?
No, it's always, well, yeah, I guess. This stuff is not difficult.
Nobody's going to go anyway.
Exactly. I'm out. No. Honestly, this stuff, everybody seems to be, when it comes to things like pruning and stuff like that, just the biggest thing you take away from it is don't take more than a third of the tree. Now, that doesn't apply to your nitrogen fixers and other things, but when it comes to your fruit trees, don't be afraid to prune. A lot of cool methods out there. So Ben, honestly, he's an expert now, and they just took, a couple of trees, and you know exactly what you got to do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your knowledge and your sharing, and as always, I mean, wonderful friends of ours. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you've got hit that like button and have subscribed. I can get it out. I really can. Make sure you visit us over at renewedhomestead.com/shop. Our videos there. Our videos are on Rumble. Anyway, take care, everybody. God bless. And as my pastor growing up used to say, go forth and serve the Lord.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.